Good morning, all of you. Myself, Nivin. I'm from Pantech eLearning. So I'm working in Pantech eLearning embedded department. So we'll be having a introductory session into Internet of Things. So I'll be going into the concepts of Internet of Things that the way I've seen it. So you can describe it in so many different ways. So as an embedded engineer, I have a particular perspective about the technology. So you can actually this Internet of Things IoT can be implemented in any fields of life, different areas of life. So in any case, you need some certain knowledge about the background knowledge about what is basically Internet of Things. So you can use this introductory session as a beginning learning session, and you can, if you're interested, you can further search in that area. So so here we'll start with basic history of Internet itself. So first we'll see the history of Internet and the eras, how it came to this a time where we are using this Internet of Things for different type of purposes. For example, if you take so many different examples, one of them is like autonomous cars. These days there are like so many development going on that same field, autonomous car. Almost all of the companies, all of the big companies, when car manufacturers are coming together to make this possible. Like it is, they are combining their research, different type of research into single standard, so they can easily develop autonomous vehicles. So in this autonomous vehicles era, we have the vehicle that is intelligent on its own, and then the driver who is just a beneficiary, is just a user of this whole system. So it doesn't have to be, they doesn't have to be involved in the whatever internally happening in it. If there is any small problems with the vehicle, then automatically this will be updated. And if there is, like, if you take for example cars like Tesla, companies like Tesla, they'll provide monthly updates to their softwares. So when they provide the software updates, actually the car's performance will increase. So these updates are not done manually by the driver, by the owner, but rather it is directly linked to the servers, and it is directly accessing the internet, and then it's being able to update on its own. So this, in this whole scenario, the car is able to do it itself. So this is one example of Internet of Things. So Internet of Things, basically its emergence has multiple factors. So one of them is automation. So automating different type of objects, devices, everything that just the same as the example I just said about cars. So automating cars, so that means the vehicle itself, with some embedded electronics and softwares, the vehicle itself is able to access network. Beneficiaries, the persons or people who are using that, whatever it is, using that product. So that is Internet of Things. So before going into Internet of Things, we have to, like, automation is one of the factors. Then Internet of Things emerges from internet itself. So we have to first talk about internet when it comes to why there is this thing called Internet of Things. So internet, first of all, when we talk about internet, we have to talk from the start from the beginning. So the internet can be divided into different eras. So if you have we have lived through, as if you are born in 90s or 80s, you know that we have lived through this era of internet, but most of us were only aware of it after 90s, after late 90s or early 2000s. So this is because of some factors that played in background. So we'll just discuss what are these factors and why internet became so much popular and how it came to how Internet of Things came to existence. Then so we'll start with the first era, Internet of Boffins. So Boffins, the word itself means like a person who's a researcher or an academic who's developing something for industry, for military, or for and other type of medical or whatever it is. They're doing some research. So this research people, academics are called boffins. So Internet of Boffins means that era in like 69 to after 69. Big computing systems were implemented, like IBM type of computer systems were implemented for different type of purposes in all campuses. Like if you take so this was originally this internet at that time. It was called ARPANET, and it was made by US Defense Department, and it was called ARPANET because the defense research wing is called ARPA, so that is why it is called ARPANET. And the purpose of this network was to interconnect all the different big institutions in US itself. So if you know about the big universities in America, you know that they're called Ivy League schools. So they're like very prestigious research and development. They have very prestigious universities, and they have very high quality, world class research and development labs. So these are some examples are like Stanford, Harvard, or MIT, Caltech. These are some of the examples of this different type of institute. There are like many institutes, so they are all doing different type of research that is essential for the country. So if you take any nation, that nation's biggest investor in research is the government itself. So whether you take India or US or any other country, China or any other country, the biggest investor of research in that country is always the government itself. So if you learn about different type of PhD scholars, they're doing research in different places, they'll get grants from government for doing different type of researches. If their research is like worthwhile for some future purpose, then they'll get some funding. They'll get the funding from government. So always most of the research is backed by the government. So the government have a interest in keeping it all very efficient. So that was the idea behind ARPANET originally. It was to interconnect all these Ivy Leagues, so all these big universities, big research labs. So why? Because at a time maybe two institutes are doing the same, two researchers are doing the teams of research teams are doing the same thing. 10 people are doing here and 10 people are doing there, and they're both doing the same thing, and they're working parallelly. So if they have a real-time communication between them, then the whole process will become much more efficient. If they need to have a real-time correspondence, so that through interconnecting all these different networks, different research labs, it is the US Defense Department made it possible to interconnect all these different institutes and make the whole thing more efficient. So this was the early 70s and up to early 90s, and this was an exclusive network. Only certain people, certain designated people were able to access this. Only these people can access it, and only these researchers can access it, and they can post they can use it for different type of purposes. And then at the end of early 90s, like beginning of 90s, that early 90s, some apart from these researchers that are working on these things, the other people were able to access, other academics, because at that time the internet didn't have any kind of practical use for any other person other than these people. So they So more of these people were able to access it by paying some money, even if they're not in that particular institute. Still they can access the network. So that was the beginning of beginning of liberalization. So making it more inclusive for everyone. And then after 95, that is era of that's when the internet was made public. So it was made public, so people were able to. So you can have, if you have a small network of computers, machines, then you can connect that to the main network, and you can access all the data available in it. So that is a so that happened in 1995. So if you take big companies like Amazon already started working, started their company in 96, internet company in 96. They started as a book delivery website, different type of books. Instead of a bookstore, they started a online delivery system for books. So that was the beginning of Amazon, and so the company already started in 96. So that was the beginning time of internet. It wasn't that popular because it wasn't that useful. Even though some companies are there, they're providing different type of services, it is not useful for most people because a number of factors. So one of them is the accessibility. How accessible it is, like first of all, internet connections cost money, so much money, and then also to access internet you need a system. You need some PC. Good, whether it is a laptop or a desktop, you need some PC to access. So this is very costly, very expensive in those days. So it was not possible for most people to buy these. And even if they spend that much amount, they won't be able to make it useful. That amount, the investment made, because at that time period there was nothing useful for most people, for common people. Most of the things are not useful. So that's why the era is called Internet of Geeks. This 5-year period is called Internet of Geeks, before the IT boom and everything happened. So the Internet of Geeks means like people who are enthusiasts, who are interested in more than normal people. They're interested more than most people. They're interested in technology and science and all those things. So these people who are enthusiasts, those are mostly was using the internet at that time period, because it was expensive. It wasn't that much useful for most things. So people were just people who are actually curious. Those people were only the people who were using the internet for different purposes. And anyway, people who were accessing and using, they knew this is going to be a big thing, because the way they were able to communicate with each other, that was like impossible before 90s. So then late 90s, early 2000s, we know the whole thing, IT boom, everything, whatever. Like we can see in India, Bangalore became mainstream industrial city. With the IT boom. So companies like Infosys, one of the biggest companies in the world, was established during this time. So then when it comes to that era, it is called Internet of Masses. So internet exploded. So many different businesses started existing